about the storage part. So our day 6, when we start this week, okay, starting from Monday, we discuss about shared tenancy, dedicated host. We talked about VPC, we talked about default and custom VPC, and we did some hands-on labs on public-private, and we saw launching an EC2 instance uh, under a default VPC, okay, and under a custom VPC using a subnet 1, and we saw how launching an EC2 instance under a custom VPC using subnet 2. And then we discussed about NAT instance and NAT gateway, why it is required. Then we talked about subnet group and NACL, NACL. And then overview on VPC endpoints. We had an overview of VPC peering used for when you use multiple VPCs to connect multiple VPCs. Then we talked about AWS VPN options like site-to-site and client VPN, and overview on virtual private gateway and customer gateway. And if we are using IPv6, we can use egress IP internet. So we had demos on, EC2 Linux and the custom VPC. We saw how we can connect a private VPC to using a private IP address via SSH, okay, through the Linux instance or through Cloud Shell. Okay, and then we had hands-on development maximum features under VPC. So until now we are okay, right? Okay. So as we have completed the VPC part, there's there are some key elements that we need to discuss. One is the Route 53, and one is the CloudFront. Okay, and then we will just have an overview on other tools that are there under network and content services. So when you talk about Route 53, right? What do you mean by Route 53? So Amazon Route 53 is a highly available and scalable cloud domain name system web service. It is designed to give developers and businesses an extremely reliable and cost-effective way to route end users to internet applications by translating names like www.example.com into the numeric IP addresses like 192.0.2.1. So you can use Route 53 to perform three main functions. One is the domain registration or registered domain names, DNS routing, route internet traffic to the resources of your domain, and health check the health of your resources. Just let's see what is domain name first. Okay. So until my screen is visible to everybody, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay. So until now we did these things, right? And how we were accessing our instances, either we are using public IP, okay, because in custom VPC we did not specify any DNS over here, right? So what we are doing, we just were copying the public IP, and then whether we need to receive the resources also through the browser of the web server. I was posting the public IP on the browser, and I was seeing the content of seeing the web page content of that particular web server. Okay. So in general scenario, we will not be using public IP, right? We'll be using domain names. So let's see what is domain name. So what does DNS stands for? It stands for domain name system. You may have studied this in your course when you are doing Microsoft MCSA and other things. Okay. And the main function of the DNS is to translate domain names into IP address. So as I cannot remember IP address like 82.12.11.14 every time, right? Okay. So what is the feasible way that I can do it? www.amazon.com, okay, or www. Whatever name is there, and .com also there. So which computers can understand? So TCP A DNS has a port related to it, a TCP port related to it. It is known. It is 53. So it stands for TCP 53. Hence, in AWS, it is called as route 53. So this is a DNS service in AWS providing you domain name services, like translating domain names to IP address. Okay. So let's see a bit of DNS concepts. So what when we talk about DNS, when we talk about this thing, right? As I told you, www.amazon.com. What they specify? It specifies nothing but domain name. Okay, it specifies nothing but domain name. Okay. And then example www.amazon.com. You may have checked earlier NIST.gov. So how do we get this domain name? By registering a domain through a domain registrar or through a domain reseller. So domain name is managed by organization known as ICANN. It stands for Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. You don't have to write this because I have a link to connected to this, so you'll get all those information on the.
Sir, this is the same organization that is responsible for giving the IPs as well.
Yes, yes.
The same one, that class A, class B, class C. The same organization that is responsible for giving the IPs, like whichever wants to purchase an IP address, they have to approach to this organization, right, sir?
Yes, same.
Okay, thank you.
So I can specify what domain name and domain extension, because I am specific to domains, this thing. So that's the reason I'm keeping it specific to this topic. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So specifies what domain name and domain extensions are available. Okay. So if you say who holds our who is which company or which organization has a database that holds all these domain names that we register, it is ICANN. Okay. Then we have types of domains available. Okay. Now we thought about, okay, ICANN is there. So what are the types of domains that are available, right? So in any way you see www.amazon.com or www. Like .gov, okay, .info, .net. So there are several types. So the top of the internet hierarchy of domain names is top level domain, TLD, top level domain. And it can be like .org, like I can say amazon.com, amazon.org, amazon.com, or in india.gov, or NIST.gov, and so on. Okay, so the top on the hierarchy will be top level domain, and then we have one more called as country code domain. So you can say .in. It comes below the. It is a part of this TLD. Okay, it will be .in, .uk. The country name specifications will be there. Then we have generic top level domain. Okay, where we need, if I'm an education company, I will say .edu, or if I'm a military organization, I will say .mil. So it comes in the generic TLD. Where now, as we saw, we have top level domain, we have country code domain TLD, and we have generic TLD. Then we come to second level domains, like Amazon is a second level domain for me. So top level is .com, and then we come to second level domain Amazon, www.amazon.com. So you can have second level domains for country also, like .co.in, if you can say .gov.in, .co.uk, and so on. Am I clear until now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we talked about domain names, types of domains available, right? Top level domain and the second level domain. Okay, there may be subcategories also in this, but I'm sticking to the basic. Okay, and then we have domain registration concepts. So we have a domain registrar, we'll have a domain registry, we'll have a domain reseller. So just to first show you, you don't have to write all these things because everything you will get over here. Okay, so the concepts of the Amazon, so you'll have domain registration concepts are there, domain name DNS system concepts are there, and health checking concepts are there. So as we talk about domain name, we talked about, now domain register, domain registry, and domain reseller. So let's go back to, so we talked about domain, right? So it's a human friendly name for an internet resource. What will have, it will have an, it will map to my IP address. So it resolves host name to IP address. Okay. So domain register, a company that is accredited by ICANN, means this organization will uh, many third party organization will go to ICANN and say, okay, I'll be a part of your this thing, and I will be selling the domain names. uh, I'll be buying some block from you regarding a particular top level domain, and I'll be selling it to my customers. So I can approve those domain registrars for it. So for a specific top level domains, for example, Amazon can be a registrar, okay, and is a domain registrar for .com. Amazon registrar like Gandhi, if you say it is Gandhi, okay, is a domain register for .com, .net, and .org. So these many are registered with ICANN, GoDaddy, HostGator. This can be main registrar for top level domains and also resellers of domains. Okay, so Bluehost, DreamHost, and so on. So domain registry, a company that owns the right to sell domains that have a specific top level domain. Okay, a company that owns the right to sell domains that have a specific top level domain like .com, .edu, .tv, and so on. Okay, for example, VeriSign is the registry that owns the right to sell domains that have a .com TLD. A domain registry defines the rules of registering a domain. So if you see over here, there will be a domain registrant. Domain registrant will be there. There will be some registry fee, and there's some ICANN fee, and this will be paid by the registrars. Okay, they will this ICANN database will. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. The ICANN will have .com, .edu, and this thing, and you will have an accreditation fee for it, and then it is your VeriSign is over here. So similar concepts. Okay, so domain reseller is a company that sells domain names for registrars such as Amazon Registrar. So Amazon Route 53 is a domain reseller for Amazon Registrar for your register associate like Gandhi.net. And so now Route 53 is also a domain. You can always buy domain names, okay, through Route 53 also. So we talked about this top level domains. Let's come to the DNS concepts. Let me check whether I have something over here. Okay. So I'm just switching to this part. So now we have some domain name system concepts, right? So while working on Route 53 or any DNS, okay, be it Microsoft DNS also, like if you have a server, you will have wherever you talk about your domain name for any organization, you will have a domain drive, because we are talking about web N tier and web tier applications. Okay, everything is connected to web, and every web will have an domain name associated with it. So domain name will be related to your organization or any other stuff. Mainly it is related to your organization. Okay. So your domain name system concepts will be, you will have alias record, you will have authoritative name server, you'll have DNS query, okay, when you'll have DNS resolver, domain name system, and hosted zone, IP address, and so on. So all the details related to this concept you can. So what is an alias record? A type of record that you can create with Amazon Route 53 to route traffic to AWS resources such as Amazon CloudFront distribution and Amazon S3 buckets. Okay, it's an authority name server that has defined information about one part of the domain name system, and that responds to request from a DNS resolver. Okay. All those, I'm not going to each part of it. It's a document to, it's a read document, so you can just go through to update it. So hosted zones, a container for records which include information about how you want to route traffic to domain, such as example.com and other things. Name servers, record DNS record, so recursive name server. So all your basic concepts of DNS, you can find it over there. And I'll be sharing that link to you. So just to coming, if you see this book, right? Just go to this book, and all in the section 5, page number 108 of my reference guidebook, you'll find all this. So Route 53 is highly available, so you don't have to write everything. The reference is also specified over here. Domain name, DNS routing, and health checking. So register domain names is given over here. Yeah. And so just to have a specific, right? Okay, whether to be specific on the practical hands-on lab. So what what I did is I registered a domain called ifiinstitute.com that I'll be using it for my my personal organization use. Okay, so I registered this thing. Okay, and there were two options to go with, right? So one is the easiest option was to use Route 53. Okay, so if you see, I will just show you. So I come over. My console is visible to everybody, right? So I came over here. I went to network and content delivery. I can always search for Route 53, but I'm just showing you example. I just say Route 53 over here. Okay, and I'm on this page. So here I have an option to register my domains. Under domains, okay, I have an option to register a domain. So if or you can transfer a domain. You can transfer a domain from Route 53 to any other domain hosting provider like GoDaddy or any other provider. So if I say register domain, okay, if I say for example, I will say iFi Institute. Okay, so I have an option to go with .com, .net. You can save your purchase option using that particular listing. So to register a domain, start by finding one it's available, and I think so. This can be for a year. It can host for a year or so. Okay. So choose an extension such as .com, and check will tell you whether it's available and whether you can get it other extensions. Okay. Just to check it out whether it's available or not. So this may be available because I have in my this thing I have double I. Maybe some parts, what I found is AF should not be available. Not normally it should not be available, but what this is what I found that sometimes it shows me available on other domain registers. So what I did, I registered this from GoDaddy. Why I did it? Because the $12 was expensive for me. I got it this for I think so $400, 400 rupees. Okay, for 1 year subscription. For 1 year, so I just purchased an domain name. This is my, if you see over here. As soon as you as soon as you purchase any domain name, all your process will ask you for your. You have to provide you the proper, you know, the like the proper account settings, the your company name or the address details and your phone numbers, and this and they take days time to verify this thing, and then they will register a domain name for you. Okay, as soon as you do that, I'm not showing the NS records and SOA records for my this thing for security reasons, but this is the records when I was working with Root 53. Okay. So uh, as soon as you do this thing, right, you'll get two NS records. For me, if I have registered with GoDaddy, right, so I got two NS records related to my domain and one SOA record. So any domain that you register, you will find these two as mandatory, right? NS records and SOA records, start of authority records. And this is what this is how this is when I was doing the stuff in Root 53. So in this, what I did, because I did I purchased this on GoDaddy, and now I want Root 53 to host my this thing. So I have a domain name in some other registrar, but my hosting provider will be AWS. So this all talks about those things, right? So if you see over here, so you have an example if you want. So if it's a matter of only if you want, you can always go with you can do the similar things, but only the thing is that if I am using Root 53 for a $12 and hosting and having the, because my domain name and the hosting provider is the same. If I am hosting in AWS itself and I am using and domain from Root 53 or from AWS itself under I'm registering a domain name under Root 53, the propagation of my web page, right? If I do any updates or this thing, it will be immediate. Okay, but because if you see, we come down to this. What I did was I registered in GoDaddy, okay, and whatever changes I was doing, whatever changes I was doing, okay, the propagation time to update to those names. So what I did was I hosted an load balancer and provided my like myelb.ifiinstitute.com. So it takes normally 24 to 72 hours for DNS propagation after you update the Root 53 system. But this propagation will be faster when you use the same this thing. Okay, but if you want to save cost, yeah, I wanted to save cost because I was just practicing it. Okay. So considering my scenario that I cannot show you all the steps, okay, because I have already done it on this book and all the screenshots are available for you. Okay, it's up to you. If you just have to register one domain name, Okay, or GoDaddy, whatever, search on the net. Okay, GoDaddy or any other way who is providing you 1 year this thing. If you want to practice this, okay, just check your domain name and then you can practice accordingly. So what I did, register domain name using this lab, and then okay, the steps for registering a domain is also mentioned over here. Okay, so what I did, I copied my DNS. Okay, I routed my DNS and NS records to Route 53, from GoDaddy to Route 53, so that whatever pages, whatever web services I host, okay, my hosting provider will be Route 53. So for that reason, whenever you register, your this thing, you'll you'll get your DNS information. I'm not showing over here because of security reasons. Okay, but you will get similar like this: 2 NS records and 1 SOA records. Now we have to. These things I have already mentioned in my book, that how to map it. So one is if you go through this book, you will get those information. Okay, so what I have done it. So one important thing for one is that I am using ifi.com from GoDaddy. I mapped that NS record, but where I did map, I used hosted zone. So hosted zone contains records that define how internet traffic is routed for a domain and its subdomains. For example, ifiinstitute.com hosts zones. Okay, you can create records for the registered domain and www.ifiinstitute.com that route traffic on ELB, where two public web servers running on an institute. So in this scenario, what I did, I had two web servers running in two different availability zone. I had an ELB load balancer linking to it with a particular name to it, and it was attached to myelb.ifiinstitute.com. And when I used to click this, I was being after the propagation of the DNS, I was able to route it to the. So how to check? There are some DNS issues also you can face, and those issues on the workaround part I have already mentioned it. How, where to go, how you can check your DNS and other things. Okay. So I'll just show you what I did is. So what I did, I went over here. I'm canceling this part. I went to hosted zones. So this is the container where all your records, like A records and NS records. Okay. So the first step is you have to create a hosted zone. Okay, domain name, what is required, description. Okay, whether it's a public hosted zone or a private hosted zone. Okay, and then you say create host zone. So I'm just switching to my book. So if you see over here, I did this. I said ifi.com. I given it's a public web server. I said public hosted zone, and then I created a hosted zone. Once I created a hosted zone, I got this information. See, I got this information. So then what we will use the following scenario, 53. Like I've already, there is a scenario. Now I have mentioned a scenario over here. The best part to understand it, you create a rough sketch with this scenario, like we did this with this, right? Whether you are working on network, whether you are working on anything, architecture or this thing, you always do these things first, and so you will understand. Okay, you will better understand where you will go wrong or something like that. Okay. So there is a scenario. I use region Mumbai. We have two EC2 subsystems. Okay, and then this time I used 198, 168 instead of 10. Similar things that we saw yesterday. And when I said I have an index with welcome to i5 Institute, that this was one web server, and one web server say having the similar contents, and this was being connected to an load balancer. You can say my ALB. When I say my ALB, I use the public DNS of AWS, and I was getting this thing. Now we have transferred the DNS service to i5 to route 23. For this, login to your domain register and copy the NS and SOA records. So I have masked those things because it's an security reasons. I don't want those things to be exposed on over the net. So when you do these things, you also you don't expose those things over the net. Okay. So click the NSA records, and I copy paste on it on the hosted zones, okay, like i5.com and so on. To ensure the transfer records, copy the AWS record hosted zone. So these are the records. As soon as you create the hosted zone for your particular domain name, you will get these things. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So coming back to saying, now if you follow this book properly, okay, you lots of regarding cloud concepts, and even if your network concepts will also be clear. And I'm using Linux server, so there is an addition of some part of Linux OS also. You will come to know basic things of the OS system. So I'm not going these all. I will provide you the link where all this information is there on that link. So there are 4 types of records, right? Okay, you see. One is the A record, and A record matches domain name to an IP address. So like if I say i5.com, so I will have a public IP address, so it matches my whether it is your Microsoft DNS server, or whether it is your hosting server. This A record is important, right? So example.com is mapping to my IP address. This is what DNS stands for, right? Resolution of host name to IP address. So a start of authority record is mandatory for every domain. So it's a mandatory for, so any domain you register, you will have one or two NS records and one start of authority record. Then we have a canonical CNAME. Canonical name record matches a domain or subdomain to a different. So if you have an alias to a particular this thing, right? Like alias.example.com. So I can use CNAME over there. So name records stores information about the same servers for your domain. So where example.com is hosted, where where is the name server record? It will be on ns1. Like suppose godaddy.com or ns2.godaddy.com or something like that. Wherever the GoDaddy is hosting their name servers records over there, or keeping their name server database. And then we have an alias record, okay, used only with AWS. This is similar to CNAME. So now we come to so once we this is the actual, this is the actual scenarios where we'll use Route 53, like AWS.com. Okay, I'll have forget about this CloudFront. Okay, we'll have my whether I have an environment of my EC2 instance. I'll go to the Amazon Route 53 example.com, and if you have noticed that if you use default VPC, okay, and use your default instance, launch your instance using default VPC, a public DNS will be this thing. So it uses Route 53 for those purposes also, for your default having your DNS publications for your default for your instances hosted on default VPC. So this is what the scenario will be. So there are terms called routing policies. Okay, so let's check over here. I'll share this link to you, or you come down over here. Okay. Down. So in Route 53, you will have this route policy, right? Routing policies. So setting for records that determines how Route 53 responds to DNS queries. Route 53 supports the following route policy types. Okay. So one will be simple route policy, used to route internet traffic to a single resource that performs a given function for your domain. So for example, if you have only one single user or one single instance, okay, then and you're using Route 53, you can use simple routing policy. So used to route internet traffic to a single resource that performs given function for your domain. For example, a web server that serves content for the example.com, right? Then we have failover routing policies. In case you want you have a primary site and you have a secondary site, okay, and both are one this can be active passive, right? Active and passive. Until this is on, this will not turn off, but as soon as this goes off, this will be turned off. Okay, so Route 53 provides you that option. Use when you want configure to active passive failover. Okay. So failover routing lets you route traffic to resources when the resource is healthy, or to a different resources when the first resource is unhealthy. Now the primary and secondary records can route traffic to anything from Amazon S3 bucket that is configured as a website to a complex tree of records. Okay, so one is simple route policy where we have a single resource, then we have failover route policy, and then we have geolocation policies. In an environment, right? When you say in an environment where you will say that okay, location users residing in US should be accessing the US server, and user residing to your user residing on to Mumbai should be accessing your Mumbai server. So use when route to internet traffic to your resources based on the location of your users. So Mumbai will be accessing the Mumbai server. Your US North Virginia users will be using the North Virginia server. So Route 53 will help you to do that using geolocation route policy. Then we have geo proximity routing policy. When you want to route traffic based on the location of your resources and optionally shift traffic from resources in one location to resources in another location. Then we have latency based policy. So similar to your geolocation policy, right? So you can use this when you have resources in multiple locations and you want to route traffic to the resources that requires the best latency. Like Mumbai, I am sitting in Mumbai, so which is the best server that I can check into? It's the server located in Mumbai region. Okay, if I'm sitting in North Virginia, okay, or Ohio, So which are those regions that which is the server that will provide me less latency? So it's your latency route policing as well as your geolocation policy looks similar for in function wise. Then we have weighted route policy. Okay, in some cases you may say that my web page, my user, if it, the you can use this route traffic to multiple resources in proportion that you specify. Like 75% of my traffic should go to Mumbai server, and 25% traffic should go to my uh, primary data center in North Virginia. So this you can use it through weighted routing policy. We have multi-value answer policy when user want to traffic to respond to DNS queries. So like you will have 8 healthy queries. So if one query fails, it will go to second. The second fails, third fails, up to 8 healthy query records will be selected in a random way. So if you want to do that, you have to use multi-value answer routing policy. So each NSA record or NS record or each SOA record will have this also, time to live, TTL. So if you talk about session, right, network session or web session, this is an important concept to know about. So used to route traffic to multiple resources in proportion that you specify. Okay. So as we saw that there is one more benefit for using Route 53 is the health check concepts. So it can have DNS failover. It can check your DNS on the endpoint level, and it checks the health checks for DNS and endpoint level. So like DNS failover, a method of routing traffic away from unhealthy resources to healthy resources. So you can use those routing policies also, and we have health checks for each DNS. When you talk about DNS, you'll always have health checks over there. So if you talk about load balancer also, they vary on, if you go for application load balancer, they always work on health checks. It's an endpoint, and what is the health check of over here? So Route 53 pricing, okay. With Amazon Route 53, you don't have to pay any upfront fees or commit to the number of queries the server answers for your domain. Like with other AWS, you pay as you go, and only for what you use. So managing hosting servers, you pay monthly charge for each hosted zone managed with Route 53. Okay. Serving DNS queries, you incur charges for every DNS query answered by Amazon Route 53 service, except for the queries to LIS. And manage domain names, you pay an annual charge for each domain name registered via or transferred into a Route 53. So your monthly bill from AWS will list you a total usage and dollar amount for the Amazon Route 53 service separately from other AWS services. Am I clear until now? So what what are the best practices for using Route 53? So name server delegations. Route 53 host zones assign a delegation set of 4 name servers: .com, .net, .org, or .co.uk. So these are the main it supports, right? Because ICANN has provided this type of top level domains that it can support. Then delegate zones to every organization, or use dedicated zones per organization. Okay, and update your registrar's name server configuration with all of the same name servers to provide maximum availability. So resource records can benefit from lower TTL value. For long TTLs, DNS resolvers take long for request update DNS records. So you can always check on the document what is DNS resolver, what is DNS query, and so on. So use very short TTLs on SOA records, 60 seconds or less. When configuring resource record sets, the root DNS records, AWS use alias records record sets, and alias records sets are free of charge. So you don't have any charges for alias record. And use latency or geolocation routing policies to provide users with the best response times. So use health checks to ensure users are rerouted to healthy instances during an outage. So you can, okay. So that's up about my Route 53. Okay. Now you may, in my second lecture, in a third lecture actually, we talked about edge location, right? Then edge location is where end users access servers located at AWS. They are located to most of the major cities. If you remember the CloudFront, Amazon CloudFront content delivery network, if you recollect, okay. And we talked about we saw this in that lecture. Okay, we had edge locations, regional cache, multiple edge locations. So when you talk about edge location, we talk about caching. Okay, caching of your contents, right? Where you don't have to uh, where you will have an offline where there will be servers where you have an offline content on that server, and it doesn't have to go back to the main server, and it will your website or your content can be fetched from the from the cache server. Okay. Similar concept for your YouTube or anything that we discussed on that day. So CDN is known as Content Delivery Network. So it's not only available with Microsoft AWS. Okay, a CDN or Content Delivery Network is network of servers that keeps a cached copy for your website and multiple servers. So for Amazon, if you see what is the CDN service, it's CloudFront. We have an CDN77.com also. We have CDN service for Google Cloud. We have Microsoft Azure CDN. StackPath is a CDN service. Cachefly, CDN77, and Akamai are the top level CDN services that are available. Okay. So we come to CloudFront, right? So CloudFront is an Amazon CloudFront is a fast content delivery network CDN service that securely delivers data, videos, applications, and APIs to customers globally with low latency, high transfer speeds, all within a developer-friendly environment. Okay. So CloudFront delivers you content through a worldwide network for data centers called edge locations. Okay. You saw right how many 254 edge locations are there across the globe for AWS. So when a user requests content that you are serving with the CloudFront, the user is routed to the edge location that provides the lowest latency so that the content is delivered in the best possible performance. Like we see in the Route 53, right? We saw that if you want to redirect to a uh, particular server or this thing like geolocation and other things, with Route 53 we can use a combination of CloudFront also to get that performance level enhanced or optimized. So we talked about this. Okay. So what are the features of CloudFront? It provides you security, it provides you availability, it provides you performance, it provides you cost effective. It's cost effective. So security protection against network and application layer attacks, SSL, HTTPS, and access control, compliance, availability, increase application availability, enabling redundancy for origins. Or when you say origins, so it will be where your origin, where your content will be stored in the origin server. Okay, the main physical server where it will be stored in, and then we have cache edge servers. Okay, to to propagate your content for fast performance. So performance, network optimization for optimal performance, dynamic or static content, and cost effective. Pay as you go, publicly available pricing, and committed traffic private. So free data transfer between AWS cloud services and Amazon CloudFront. So how CloudFront works on CloudFront distribution. Okay, so this is how it is closely associated with your S3 that we'll be talking tomorrow. Okay, so in case you have you have an S3 bucket and you have an HTTP server over here, the objects are stored on the bucket. Okay, and then we create a web distribution. So it's what is CloudFront distribution? To tell CloudFront wherever you want content to be delivered from, and the details about how to track and manage content delivery. Then CloudFront uses computers as servers. In short form, in very short, you use CloudFronts. Okay, when you require and you're using online document storage, or you're using a web server to or web applications to using caching environments. Basically, it will when you work on objects like your files or this thing, like similar your Google Drive, or similar to similar to your OneDrive, right? They use these type of concepts to store the accounts, right? And how you access it faster, this is where how you do it. So you have web distribution. Okay, it talks to your CloudFront, and it will provide you one will have an origin address. Okay, and then you will have a distribution address that will be replicated to your edge locations. So this distribution address will be mapped to your origin URL. So what do we do with CloudFront? Step one, specify your origin server, like an S3 bucket on your HTTP server. Step two is you upload your files to your origin server, your files known as objects. Okay, so you create CloudFront distribution, which tells you CloudFront which origin server to set your files. And a CloudFront assigns a domain name for your new distribution that you can see in the CloudFront console, and so on. So CloudFront sends your distribution configuration, but not your content. What it sends is it sends your distribution configurations, okay, to all the edge locations or point of presence POPs that we checked it earlier or discussed earlier. Collection of servers in geographical dispersed data centers where the CloudFront caches copies of your files. So with CloudFront, right, there is a feature called geo restrictions. So in some areas, right, I have a website where you can say you can use geo restriction or known geo blocking to prevent users in specific geographic locations from accessing content that you are distributing through a CloudFront web. So if there is any particular content that I am to block to a particular country or a particular region, I can do that by using geo resisting or geo blocking feature. Okay. So use the CloudFront geo restricting features. Okay. Use this option to restrict access to all files that are associated with this distribution and restrict access to country level. Okay. Am I okay until now? Yeah. Today we are just talking about theory a bit little. Okay. But
yes, sir.
But when you practice it, I'll show you. It is already on. All these things are on my book. Okay. So if you refer it and practice it, you'll enhance your concepts. So there are some few overviews that I need to tell about. Regarding the network delivery, you'll find one. We'll come to a name called Amazon Direct Connect. So what is Amazon Direct Connect? AWS Connect Direct Connect is a network service that provides an alternative using the internet to connect customers on-premise sites to AWS. So if you see over here, whatever we are creating instances or accessing it, I'm using internet to this thing to access those web applications. But But in terms of an real-time scenario, right? Organization will not say I want everything on internet, right? Where because there will be lots of security concerns, lots of things can go wrong if everything is on the internet. So to to have those to or the compliance, your auditor will also not ask you, okay, you should be everything, you should have everything. Uh, every link should be accessed through the internet or and so on. So to avoid that, we'll have a low latency links are for many regions. It's not for all regions, but many regions are they support direct connect. Okay, so it's an alternative to use the internet to connect customers on premise as to AWS. So using AWS direct connect, you can establish private connectivity between AWS and your data center. So if you want a private connectivity between AWS and data center, you use direct connect. Okay, in Microsoft you can say express route. Okay, that's and Google also has some. Okay, so which in many cases can reduce your network costs, increase bandwidth throughput, and provide a more consistent network experience than internet-based connections. So use direct connect. Okay, you can and your network is co-located with existing AWS direct connect location. You are working with AWS direct connect partner. So you have to work with the AWS direct partner who is member of the AWS partner network. You are working with an independent service provider to connect AWS direct connect. And your device must support border BGP, the dynamic routing protocol. If you have learned in the networking section of this ISS course. We talked about private link yesterday. So private link provides, when we talk about endpoints, it uses private link. So private link provides private connectivity between VPC and services hosted on AWS or on premises. So you have Transit Gateway. AWS Transit Gateway is a service that enables customers to connect their Amazon virtual private. So if you see, okay, if you see, if you have a simplify how you connect, so I can connect my this thing through VPN, using VPN connections to each of my services. But if you use Transit Gateway, right? So I don't this the architecture this design will be changed to this way. So it will be simplified. Okay, so VPN, my VPN connection will be only with the transit gateway, and this transit gateway will be connecting to other AWS services or other services related to my design. So if you see, you as you grow your number of locations running on AWS, you need to be able to scale your networks across multiple accounts and Amazon VPCs. So there is one more. When you talk about microservices and other things, right? Now everything is related to your application. Okay, and this plays a very important role when it comes to an interface with your application, right? With your infrastructure and your application. So if you have heard about when we checked about the 3-tier architecture, the business logic, okay, the business logic is nothing but the API. Okay, it will be connected to your web server, and it connects to your web server and your interface between your web server and your database. So Amazon application program interface gateway is fully managed. It is easy for developers to create, publish, maintain, monitor, and secure APIs with a few clicks in the AWS management console. So when you talk about applications, you will have REST, I think so, mentioned in my this thing, and WebSocket APIs. So there will be two types of APIs: REST APIs and WebSocket APIs. Okay, and API has no minimum fees for startup cost. You pay only for the API calls for you to receive, and that just for a high level, okay, just to know what are the concepts also. So if you say REST, it is known as representable state transfer API. It is a set of rules that developers follow they create their API on one of the. So most of your this thing right now we talk about infrastructure as a code. We we create infrastructure using ISE, okay, and the or on if your developer is using it, he will be using PaaS service, platform as a service. Don't not related to your infrastructure and other things. So these things will be coming into picture. Okay. So there are two types of APIs: WebSocket API and REST API, representable state transfer. So this is how it works. So this is for the day. Okay. I know that was a very heavy theoretical part, but I try to simplify the concepts because and I will be sharing you the links, resource links to all those that we discussed. So tomorrow we'll be working on the storage part. Coming to my this thing, coming to my book. Okay. So yesterday I have already told you that to do some configurations. This whatever assignments you do, it's self-paced, but the more you practice, the more you get hands-on on AWS. So AWS, if you see AWS is not a small thing. Even if you talk about Microsoft Azure, it's not cloud is not a small thing. It's a vast ocean. Okay, and we have to go step by step to. So everything if you see a transit gateway that I talked about, is everything is mentioned in my book. There may be no lab on that this thing, but overview you can for an overview you can always check. Okay, and those reference links are already provided. Each you will have each section will have a reference link connected to it. Still in my WhatsApp group, I am already forwarding those reference links just for your. Uh, you can keep a record for of that. So coming to my section, right? So I think so. Yesterday I told you to practice until the configured the VPC 5.3, and I asked you to practice the load balancer and this thing. So if you now as we have covered the Route 53 part, okay, you can practice 5.6 also, and you can practice 5.5 also. Okay, and just go have an overview of these things, right? And if you see your EPC secretary, so you have all what does it consist of? So network security, all the concept related things are also mentioned over here, and you will always get an detailed information on the AWS documentation. So today for this lab for this section you can practice Route 53 also. Okay, or Route 53 make sure that you require an domain name. So if you want you can always um, I prefer if you can afford $12 this thing, then you can always go for it. Or I prefer that you go with GoDaddy, and the only difference with going with GoDaddy is that the propagation time you will not get the result on a split of a second. You have to wait until all the propagation takes place. So if you come over here, page number 8, as I showed you, this is what you can do. Okay, just follow this document. If I prefer that you register a small domain name, whatever you name you want to listen with GoDaddy or anything. It's just it will cost you around. I think so. Let me see. You can always look for any HostGator or Net for India. I think that is see one. If you go for an in domain names, you will cost you for 149 per year cost. Yeah. If you go for .com, I went for .com when 499. This thing is there, and you don't have to go for web hosting. Okay, you can always register and use your Route 223. After doing that, you delete everything from Route 223, even the hosted zones. Okay, if you don't want to, carry on further, because it will your Route 223 will there will be some charge for your Route 223 accounts. Okay, but give a logical name so that if you want to use in future, you can always use it. Well, uh, if you ask me, okay, this will be an assignment. Okay, you can always practice, but make sure that you are very conversant with the previous assignments that I've provided you. If you know in and out of those things, this will be an cakewalk for you. But in this assignment, I will always, so there are some things, right? If I see you come down, not more. Everything is step by step. I have explained in this thing. So how you can manage the DNS? There's a link over here that you can go through. Making Amazon S3 as a DNS server, DNS service for an existing domain. There is a link over here that you can go through. Making Route 23 DNS server for a domain that is in use. So there is a link over here. So everything I have covered in this book. So configuring all routing. So I used the domain services to use all these routing policies. So, so how I did it, create a record set. Okay. Create a simple A record. So once you do this, only then we will come to understand the basic concepts of DNS. So if you see over here, I had an error. Okay, as I told you, it takes 24 to each record I uploaded. It required in a propagation time. Okay, so when you transfer your DNS service from your this thing, right, from your GoDaddy to your Route 223, minimum time is 72 hours. It took me 72 hours to propagate the DNS record, and then whatever you do later on, whatever you this thing, it will not take much time. But the problem is that in my scenario, in Mumbai region, uh, it propagated everywhere, but it didn't propagate in the Mumbai region when I was practicing. So how to just how to clear your how to troubleshoot with your DNS. These are the things, like Google public DNS is the Google global DNS checker. I use DNS checker to use this thing. You can use global DNS. So cost check, I did keep the Route 23 and ELB section active for 2-3 days to check the DNS propagation. Note this will add few bucks in your AWS cloud billing. Ensure to terminate all your active resources or configuration to avoid unnecessary billing. Because I kept it on. Okay, but definitely it will add cost to it. So my total whatever I did this for this book, okay, whatever practice I did this for the book, it costed me around 1,900 rupees as a total. It was almost around 2 months of job. So you can see over here for this lab, I've already mentioned how I did it for US region, Mumbai region. Okay, how I took the latency policies. Yeah, the solution diagram is your task. I can always add it whenever required, but solution diagram is your task, because this is how you will learn. I gave scenarios, okay, but to create the solution diagram, it's your task. So if you see over here, defined weighted records. So because as I told you that it was propagating my records everywhere, okay, unless but not on US NS record, on my Mumbai region. Okay, that's the reason I have to check. I have to depend on the whether whatever NS records whatever A records I'm propagating, it is propagating how where it is propagating. I was checking. I was doing it through DNS check. Okay, so everything. So if you see outcome of the lab, traffic to multiple servers will be routed through propagation. I use load balancer for this lab. While creating this lab, you can also try to host a single EC2 register per region. To have one EC2 instance in Mumbai region and one EC2 instance in North Virginia region. Mapping A records using this thing. You can make use of third-party VPN or internet proxy using the NordVPN, Hi.me. I use Hi.me in somewhere to check your websites if the DNS propagation takes too much time in your region. So in case if you are working right, you are working on some this thing for multi-region environment, right? I used Hi.me. I think this is the free this thing, but if you go, the best is NordVPN. If you have, if we are ready to spend a little more, okay, to check it out, we can go to NordVPN and using that VPN services over your browser, okay, you can always shift to your regions and check whether that particular web page is published or not. All depends on what level of depth you want to go to. So this will be a part of assignment like CloudFront and Route 53, okay, but previous assignments needs to be done prior to come to this part, or you will not understand. So CloudFront will come to the storage section because if you see content delivery is related to your S3 this thing. So all this, we just have an overview. What is simple cloud distribution? How am I distributing this thing? This all things are created over here, and we'll be seeing this little bit, not the cloud configuration, but little bit of storage S3 section will be. I'll be going through how CloudFront can be helpful for you. So everything is practiced over here. Just go through these things, and you see if you are talking about geo-registration, right? So if you want to block, I want to blacklist this particular region, I can always do that. Any questions until now? Nobody? No issues? Any issues that you are facing with working on the labs?
Sir, I have done assignment 1 and assignment 2. Remaining half of the parts I have done, sir. Okay. I could resolve that, sir. That key pair issue.
Okay.
From the beginning, I have done, and I could get the new key pair from it.
Okay. So it's working for you, right?
Yes, sir. That instance I created today.
So see,
it's working. I got a new key pair and I have saved it.
What in these sessions, right? I am focusing on the concepts, okay, and I have already
sir.
provided you the resource. So I don't know how to,
Yes, sir.
and even I'm trying to explain in you a very simple manner. Okay? So
Yes, sir.
so that you can understand. I know you are freshers, you will not be grasping everything. Okay, but how you can learn is to with your network connections, whatever groups you have, right,
Yes, sir.
in your job orientation, this thing. If people
Yes, sir.
want to learn more, you can talk with them. You can share your this thing. You don't have to share your screenshots because the book already has those screenshots, but you can share your experience with them, and this is how you grow your learning power.
Yes, sir.
That's done for my that's so I can we can leave the session. Thank you very much. uh,
Thank you, sir.
we will connect tomorrow, inshallah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Inshallah. Thank you.